Hi. Okay, this evening I'm going to talk about, I just got a book on the Kennedys after Camelot. Now I had started doing, looking into the British royals, starting with just Victoria. I mean, with the Puritan movement, I go back to Elizabeth I. With the founding fathers and the revolution, I go back to George III, King George III. Now, Victoria, I think she was third, monarch after George III, because I think there was two of his sons, but Queen Victoria wasn't supposed to be queen. And in fact, she wasn't educated. She wasn't prepared at all to be queen. She was the King George's third sons. I'm still putting this together. King George's third son's daughter, and it was the only daughter. So it was kind of a fluke that she ended up as queen. There's a whole story in there, and Queen Victoria and how that contributed, and her 9 children, how that contributed to World War I, World War II, and where we are today. So as I said, I'm just starting on looking at all of that. Oh my Lord, it is difficult because I've ordered a book. And one of the reviews on the book was like, it's really confusing because they're sometimes using the name that the person was born with, and then they get a name when they're king. And, you have so many Victorias and Alice, and I'll be reading a profile. I'm like, oh, wait a second. This is which Alice is this, which Victoria is. So that's why I'm putting together this whole, family tree. And so you can really see how the interaction and the conflicts, because Queen Victoria was a real prima donna and spoiled brat. And I mean, you talk about a dysfunctional childhood of that woman and how it has reverberated throughout the royals in Europe ever since, and the damage that it did, and the contribution to World War I, World War II. Now we're headed towards World War III. And in fact, what I was looking at today, what was funny was Albert, her husband, Queen Victoria's husband, was very progressive and had this vision of Camelot that had been this, legendary kingdom in England where the king didn't go to wars. He was working for, the betterment of his people. And that had been kind of this legendary, and that's what Albert had envisioned. And it was really after his death that Queen Victoria, the British Empire really takes a bad turn. I mean, I'm listening to documentaries and looking at all of that stuff right now. And into how that all played into, I was looking at there was about the Boer Wars and how that was a consequence of, it was a clergyman, Rhodes, and the diamond mines. I mean, he kind of started that, and that became very exploitative and predatory and oppressive of the South Africans, and the rest is history. And that's the De Beers mines. So as I say, I'm just starting to look into that, but now we've got our own royalty on this side of the pond. which is providence that spiritual guides, whatever you want to call them, that sent I just got this book delivered. Oh my goodness, okay. Believe me, I got tons of books back there. Some of them, I mean, I'm so, everything's in boxes and bags. I mean, this is the land of, you know, equal rights, liberty, equality, fraternity, and you know, pursuit of happiness and for all. You little girls need a real wake-up call. Oh, it was funny. I was just watching one of Bobby Kennedy's daughters. I forget, there was Rory, but then there was another one that came on. And talking about Rico and how her father had come up with Rico, which racketeered, influenced, what is it? Racketeer Influence Corrupt Organization Act, which is what I'm principally going after everybody in Washington, is RICO, Foreign Corrupt Practices Act, and the Patriot Act. I mean, in 2010, the lobbyists for the National Coalition for Domestic Violence told me what we needed was a new civil rights movement. Well, if the civil rights movement in the 60s had been so successful, why do we need a new one now? And where are all of the Kennedys on this new civil rights movement that we had? I mean, Rory, I was making some notes about Rory Kennedy, but she was like, because she's a documentary, she did women's studies. Yeah, well, Rory, I'm gonna have you up on the stand on the women's studies stuff. I'm gonna be looking at that stuff through a colonoscopy, because what I'm doing now is what really women's studies should be about. Instead of that, I mean, I've got Caroline Kenney's book back here. I haven't read the whole thing. I mean, the gobbledygook that the feminist. I'm gonna have a field day with you little ladies, with your books when I get you in court on the human rights violations. And all the human rights, just as much as the domestic violence NGOs are in there, the human rights NGOs are in there. And the domestic violence NGOs, what they want to occult is that the psychological and emotional abuse of these cackling hen women, like the Kennedys, is just, if not more damaging, and even more damaging than the physical, and you know, which is the physical and sexual violence of the men. And it is also the motor behind the physical and sexual violence of the men. I mean, I'm sorry, in the Camelot, apparently, you know, Andrew Cuomo and Kerry Kennedy, when they got married, this was the new Camelot, and this was the, you know, the whole PR with the paparazzis all over them. You know, fairyland image that was promoted, and I'm sorry, but Kerry Kennedy's a piece of work, and this thing about her being afraid of Andrew Cuomo, and that's why she locked herself at in the bathroom. This is during divorce. I don't believe it for a second. And I'd put money down, and if you want, we can go into a court battle on this one, little lady, that you were the abusive one in that marriage. Because I know the tactics, I know the signs, seen it all my life. My ex, until he crashed and burned as the director of the Treasury Department in Banco Ganadero in Colombia, subsidiary of Banco Bilbao Vizcaya of Spain, where he was an employee, you know, his entire career, you know, was never physically violent. It was always this manipulation bullshit. the gaslighting stuff, which, you know, in Spain, they'll ask, second you meet a family, they'll say, ay, ¿quién manda? ¿Quién manda en tu casa? Who rules in your house? Somebody's always got a rule. It's the man or the woman. And I'm like, no, that's not what a marriage should be about. Nobody should be ruling. Yes, when it comes to what I'm going to serve for the dinner party, I think that comes under my domain. Okay? I don't call you up at the office and tell you if you should go long or short or something, because I've been out of that game for too long. So I don't know. You've never been in my game. So, you know, at certain times, yes, you have to allow the other partner to manage their domain and not micromanage every single freaking thing that your spouse is doing, whether it be the woman to the man or the man to the woman. Now that's psychological abuse. Gaslighting, oh Lord. Take a look at all of the videos that I'm collecting for evidence, not only for this house, but for the international courts and for everybody, on a perfect case study of gaslighting bullshit and you know, screaming and yelling hysterically, like I'm sure Carrie Kennedy does to get her way, Ethel Kennedy and all the Kennedy girls. And in my family and in my husband's family, and I don't know how many families I know, and this is exactly what all of these people, I don't want to shut me up, because this is the paradigm, this is the normal that they want. Because as long as there's no physical violence involved, and this gets into my divorce, oh, what? I was supposed to wait until he actually attacked me. I mean, the only two decent lawyers I had was for a hearing. They were court-appointed lawyers. And they were women, but they were the court-appointed lawyer women. Now, the expensive lawyers, oh, those little ladies are up Schitt's Creek without a paddle. Even more so than the men. Well, Jorge Capel is in their camp. Only two lawyers that I think I've had. Well, no, Ann Wilcox, but I mean, but same with Ann Wilcox and these lawyers. What needed to be done, it was they were out of their depths. So I can't reproach them for not going where we needed to go, because they were totally in out of their depths, and they did a good job in terms of what they could do for me at the moment, and I appreciate that. But these two women, one of them, as I say, you get all of these hearings, and at least in Spain, you have the right to always be represented by a lawyer. Now I had to fight tooth and nail on that one. Oh Lord, no, I was shoving and cramming paper work down everybody's throat and saying, you know, you don't need one for. I said, I don't care. I am going to have a court-appointed lawyer. I'm going to have a lawyer here representing me. And that's number one, what needs to be done. Second, you need to get some freaking lawyers who have brains and know what they're doing and understand something about the law and human and civil rights. Now, I want to hold off on Governor Cuomo's lawyer right now, because that's really making my blood boil. So I don't want to get involved because his case is out there pending. Anyway, you know, all of these human rights, all of these domestic violence, all of these awareness raising documentaries like Rory Kennedy is doing. Oh, my sister, celebrity chef to the stars in Telluride, Colorado. She's like, oh yeah, but we do, because Telluride, Colorado, you know, their bread and butter is the Nazi Fourth Reich. movement and paradigm, just like the Kennedys. And she's like, oh yeah, but they do lots of awareness raising films out here. I'm like, excuse me? I'm all over the map on awareness raising, debunking the bullshit of the awareness raising, empty rhetoric, social media campaigners, and documentary producers like Rory Kennedy. Like, you guys really want to produce some documentaries? Okay, here's the reality. Here's the truth. Here's what you need to start covering from a holistic manner. Then I got no problem that you start covering these things, you know, individually. But you're all over the map individually. There's no leadership. There's no coordination. Nobody sees the big picture. It's just, you know, a money-making business. Like the domestic violence industry, like the human rights industry, like the IMF, like the World Bank, like the UN. So, you know, globally, and the Kennedys, that's why they got rid of JFK, Bobby, Martin Luther King, and as I say, I've never seen any evidence. Well, actually, Kunon posted something about John still being alive and he's going to come back or something. I mean, yeah, okay, that, you know, but it is wacko. But, you know, that just doesn't make any sense. But the second I heard about the accident, I said, I wonder if that wasn't really an accident, and they took him out, because that was right after he came out with George magazine, and he was looking on a political career, and he would have been a threat, just like Governor Cuomo is a threat to everybody. You know, I know the alt-right, the alt-left is going to be like, how dare you, we're not Nazis, we're not Fourth Reichers. Like, no, okay, maybe you're not Fourth Reichers, but the Fourth Reichers are playing you. And you keep on playing into their hand because they're allowing you to create all of this cacophony, so that when you leave chaos all over the frickin' place, the reason that the First Reich failed, the Second Reich failed, the Third Reich failed, and I guess we're gonna see, you know, how it's gonna end with the Fourth Reich, but it's sure to be a Third World War. And then the planet's goose is cooked. So, you know, as I say, all of these Kennedys, all of the left, she's crazy, she's crazy, she's crazy. I'm not the one who's crazy here, I'm gonna show you. As Einstein says, I sometimes wonder, is it me that is hazy, or they that are crazy? Is it the other way around? But I can assure you, Einstein, it is they that are crazy. And when I'm going to get into the Queen Victoria stuff, because that gets into the epoch of Einstein and Freud and other people, you'll see how all of that all fits together and is still applicable today. And the sins of the father are being revisited on the sons and the daughters and the grandsons and the granddaughters and the great grandsons and the granddaughters. Because even if the politically correct rhetoric is, you know, women have no power because they, you know, their property rights and access to money were restricted, it's not true. In fact, it was funny because Rory was saying that, you know, financing for her documentaries is key. Of course it is. And she gets that because she's a Kennedy. Yeah, I agree. Financing is key. I've been trying to get investment money from the capital interest for my global expats project for 15 years now. And since my name is Wilcox, everybody I know is on me out to dry. And my family tree comes from the early colonists, going back to the Puritan movement, the early colonists and the founding fathers, Dickinson and John Paul Jones. Nobody in my family has a lot of money or any money. In fact, the Wilcoxes, the Dickinson was the Dickinson and Paul family are all Wilcox, Dickinson, Paul. That's on my father's side. Where are my cousins? One of them is calling me the Antichrist. The dumb blonde, no different than Rory or Caroline or Carrie Kennedy. She's alt-right. Oh, extreme alt-right. But I can assure you, I could show, and she had no money, totally different. How can you compare? Oh yeah, you look at the rhetoric. I'm not talking about the dollars that they have or the NGOs that they have. The rhetoric. See, this is another thing with financing is key, money is key. Yeah, you take away all the money from my adversaries and they're nothing. Nothing. And that's what I told my lawyers 15 years ago. That was, it started with De Arro, Senor De Arro, but Senora Guerrero was in there, and Senora Belen Martin. Oh, Belen Martin, you really made a mistake. I told you after you had blocked my assets and screwed me over like that. I told you, if you think, of course I'm saying this, if you think, you should just speak French and English, but if you think that you are going to intimidate me by blocking all of my money and trying to cover up, because I was listening to every freaking thing that she said in there very, very meticulously, because she had said something to me the night before that I was like, holy shit, this woman's going to stab me in the back. And she did. If you think that any of the little maneuvers that you or any of your little lawyer friends in Madrid have done, well, did in my case, and have done since, because everybody, including Baltasar Garzón is going down for this one, little lady. And Cuatro Casas, one of the largest law firms in Spain, they're going down too. I was very clear to you. I was very clear to Jorge Capel. I was very clear to every single one of you guys that if you fucked with me, I'd fuck with you. Me jodes que te jodo a ti. Cuesta lo que me cuesta y los años que me cuesta. Me han hecho muchísimo daño, muchísimo. A mis hijos también. Van a pagar. Si me tarda 10, 20 años más. Todo lo demás detrás de mí, sus abogados van a sentirlo también. Todos. Y los jueces, y los clerks, jugando con la vida de la gente que te tendrá que tener una vergüenza de mierda. Sorry. Talking to my lawyers there for a second. Because I was really clear. I have been day one with everybody from day one. You screw with me, I screw with you. I don't screw with anybody. But you screw in one of my favorite scenes in a movie. It was Sylvester Stallone and some punks in a bus, you know, take this seat from this little lady. And Sylvester Stallone, he takes off his glasses, he hands them to the lady. He said, "Could you hold these for one moment, please?" He takes the kids and just throws them out the window of the bus. And he said, "Madame, your seat, please." That's a gentleman. Not strong arm tactics. If we don't obey, you're going to come and beat us up. And it's no different in the United States than in some pueblo, some village in Sri Lanka, where Sharmini Curry is from, and her little Sakti games. Well, she can go home and have them play Sakti games with her now. So, you know, just because all these little ladies are on the alt left and the minoritarists and, you know, the men who are in their camp, but believe me, this is where the women are taking the lead at the left and why they're ousting. Because, you know, Cuomo is Italian. I mean, his father, I think it was, I forget if it was father who was discriminated. Well, his father was definitely discriminated when he was trying to find a job as a lawyer. You know, and there is very derogatory word for Italians in this country, and it's just as you know, insulting as the other words. So, you know, now it's time to get rid of the minority men. We've gotten, you know, consolidate our power bases. If you see across the board. And I love Michael Lewis in the one-on-one with Christine Lagarde when he said to her, he said, "In my experience, when women are being put in positions of power, it's because they're being set up to take the fall." And she laughed nervously and she was like, "Well, I guess if that happens, I'll call you." She had no idea what he was talking about. I did. He did. And I think a lot of people did. But see, this is, you know, Christine Lagarde was finance, the finance minister over in France. They just keep on moving the chairs of the Titanic around. Malpass is head of the World Bank. After Dr. Kim, oh, because Obama liked him. See, as I told, this was Myron Brilliant, Chamber of Commerce in American Chamber of Commerce in DC, and Trump, he had said something that Trump didn't like. And so Trump had tweeted something about Myron Brilliant not being so brilliant. And I told him, I said, "Oh, Mr. Brilliant, you know what? When they start spitting on you and insulting you, it's a good sign. It means you're getting under their skin. So take it as a compliment. Don't be offended. Take it as a compliment." Now, I know that must be rather difficult at this point for Governor Cuomo, but take it as a compliment and look at the long vision, the long term. That's what I've had to do for 15 years. Believe me. What you've gone through. If I had a penny for every time a little bitch stabbed me in the back like that, I'd be a wealthy woman. So, you know, believe me, the men, the world of physical and violence of men might be a dangerous place for women, and why they all want to become, you know, the big macho and then go out there and fight the wars with them. I'm like, no, thank you very much. I'll stay home and take care of the kids and cook and take care of my house. I don't find that demeaning or oppressive by any means. I find having to go out and kill somebody or kill animals to eat demeaning and depressing. So, you know, like, stop with your bullshit, you ladies. So anyway, he yeah, I don't want to become one of those. So that's not, you know, all of these feminists are turning everything around. You know, women are oppressed because nobody appreciates the work that they do within the social order as the socialites. And now all of them want to go and have, you know, they're doing the same thing as before, gossiping. Now they're just getting paid a hell of a lot of money of taxpayer and shareholders' money to do it. And it's fraudulent. Particularly, and it's treasonous because they are subverting the US Constitution and Bill of Rights. Because, I mean, the rights of people, labor's rights, housing rights, rights all over the place within the courts, non-existent, non-existent. Oh, if you're a member of the protected group, yes, they exist. But the second you get deposed, like me, Governor Cuomo, or if you were born into it, as the poor, you know, schmuck is sitting in prison if he doesn't know what I'm talking about. As Aaron Eddy said, little ladies, try taking your civil rights out for a drive. That lemon ain't even getting off the curb. So for the 90% of people in this country, that lemon ain't even getting off the curb. So I hope this will be a real wake-up call for Governor Cuomo of what the reality in this country is like. He was, you know, accepted into the protected group of the 10%ers. I mean, I was in that group because I was married to one of those 10%ers. And of course, I had to, you know, bite my tongue. Now with the Spanish, yes, I would work for the Spaniards, but with the Americans, not at all. That's why I'm the only one standing up at the American Embassy in Bogota going, excuse me, your little plan Colombia, when are you going to address the problems of the drug consumption in the United States? Now, of course, if my husband had worked for some American corporation or in the American Embassy, that wouldn't have gone down too well with my husband. It wouldn't have gone well with her for his career because they're all in bed with that agenda. And why? You know, and why FACA, Federation of American Women's Clubs overseas, is a shit's creek without a paddle as much as the diplomatic corps, the State Department, and corporate America with whom they're in bed. But you see my point. See, with the Americans, I can say whatever I want. With the French and the Spaniards, I'd watch my tongue with ambassadors and their wives and corporate people. And my favorite story is when I was sitting next to the president of McDonald's in Bogota at American Women's Club luncheon, and I'm going on about McDonald's and what bad food and junk food and American junk food and all that. And she says, my husband's the president of McDonald's here in Bogota. Oh my God. Stick your foot in your mouth and jump. But as I say, it was amongst the Americans, there was no consequence, not for my children, because, not